I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Konnichiwa, everyone. Welcome here to NNSCRA TV's coverage of race number 20 of Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series, as we are here in Suzuka, Japan at the Suzuka East Circuit for what should be a wild weekend. Expect a longer qualifying session here today because there are going to be several different facets into how these drivers are going to qualify into, and you hear this right, 30-car main event. I believe we've got a total of 45 drivers vying for those positions. We're going to see charter drivers, much like we did back at Mid-Ohio, that are going to fail to make the show. It's going to be an interesting one here today, as we're going to take a look here real quickly before we end up getting into the drivers and everything of how to qualify into tomorrow's main event race. We have two groups of qualifying here, 15 minutes in each one of these sessions. The top 7 speeds will advance. The fastest here in this first group will be the pole sitter for tomorrow's race. The fastest in the second group will start second. It's almost kind of like the duels in a sense. The 7 fastest speeds here in the first group will make up the inside row of the top 14. The 7 fastest in the second group will make up the outside row of the top 14, the first 7 rows. Then after that, we take the drivers and where they finished in this session that did not advance. That'll set the starting lineup for 2 heat races. The top 5 from each one of those will advance. That will make up our 24 drivers up to that point. And then after that, the top 5 highest drivers that have not qualified their way into the show via points, owner points, they'll be locked in, and the final position will go to a past champion, the highest in the point standings. If there are no past champions that have not already locked themselves into the show, then the final spot will then go to the next highest driver in owner points. There's going to be a lot to kind of keep track of during the course of this one here today. This racetrack, about 1.39 miles, a lot of twists and turns. But right now it's all about laying down that qualifying lap that's going to get you locked into the top 7 to automatically qualify you into the show, as Reggie Fogelman in the 24 was one of the first ones out there. Reggie Fogelman 15th in the point standings. I mean, there is a scenario here, people, where drivers that are inside of the top 20, top 25 in points could end up missing out on making the show, and there are no compensation points for a DNQ. We had several drivers back at Mid-Ohio that failed to make the show. Connor Breton was one of those drivers. Matt McIntyre, Joshua Osborne, Nathan Ormond, Ryan Brommer. They all DNQ'd, and they did not get compensation points, so it is going to be a wild one here today. And then we've got the Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers here this weekend as well. They'll be taken to the track later on this afternoon, so full day of racing here, and then you've got the main event tomorrow. Fogelman to the top of the board, 52.488. 7 fastest speeds lock themselves into tomorrow's main event. James Qualls, 3-time winner on the season last week, picking up that 3rd checkered flag at New Hampshire. He's won 3 of the last 4 races we've had here in Duracell Cup competition. 4th in overall point standings, in the conversation for the points lead as well. He is 28 points back. Now, the likelihood that driver is way up there in the point standings if they don't advance via the Q session here or the heat races coming up, they're probably going to advance in on owner points. So, you know, your Rob Evans, Casey Hoyt, Jesse Turner, James Qualls, Austin LaPlante, they're pretty much locked into the field in some way, shape, or form. But track position could be important here tomorrow as well. And if you qualify in the Fast 7 in either this group or the upcoming group, you're guaranteed you're going to start at least up inside of the top 14. Destin Bolin, another driver that I feel will probably make the show, if in no other way, through owner points. 6th in the standings coming into this one. Right now he is 10th, though. He's outside the Fast 7. Benjamin Miles is in the Fast 7 currently at a 52.614, 5th on the board right now. Had a good run last week, finished in the top 15, but still 35th in the point standings coming into this one. Mitchell Collins, right now he is in that crucial 7th position, 52.647, what everybody's gunning for, and he just dropped out of the Fast 7. Let's see if he can jump back in here with this lap time. Is there any improvement? Oh yeah, there is. He just jumped up to 2nd on the board, a 52.311. Just behind Reese Banks at a 52.222. Mitchell Collins up in the top 10 in the point standings, 9th in overall points. So he's another driver that would probably, if all else failed, would make his way in through on owner points. Anthony McCrory, one of our road course ringers here this weekend. We're going to see a number of non-charter drivers in the upcoming 2nd session coming here for some road course action. We saw them pretty much at Mid-Ohio as well. Nico Savidio, Ralph Mason, Benjamin Snyder as well. Anthony McCurry right now, that was 23rd on the board. That is last. See if he can improve here on this lap time. Anthony very good at road courses, so you would have thought this would have been right up his alley. He improves, 52.998, but that still has him in 23rd place. Dylan Poteet up to 2nd on the board right now, 52.251. Dylan Poteet coming to this one 8th in overall standings, former winner on the season. Back in the Castrol Edge colors this weekend in Japan. RJ Bishop had a great run last week at New Hampshire. That jumped him up to 33rd in points, gained a spot. Right now 20th on the board though for him. Another driver that likes the road courses, though you may not necessarily expect that. Needs a little bit more speed out of that Ford GT500. Austin LaPlante, same deal for him. Although Austin LaPlante comes into this race 5th in overall standings, so even though he's 19th on the board right now, pretty likely that he's going to make his way into the main event via the owner points if it comes down to it. Let's see what his lap time is this time around. He improves from 19th up to 18th. 16th on the board right now, Caleb Fogler. Fogler right now would be in the 2nd wild card as far as the playoffs are concerned, as we've got only one 2-time winner in the top 30 in points right now. That's outside of the top 10, that is. That would be Jessica Shelton. Connor Breton comes into this race outside the cut line. Matthew Rodriguez also outside the cut line. Fogler, though, he needs a little bit more speed as he's currently 18th on the board. 12th on the board, Ryan Brommer. Ryan coming into this one 20th in points. Gained some spots last week after a solid outing at New Hampshire. Solid in terms of like 3/4 of the race. He had to salvage somewhat decent run last week after he was involved in a late race caution and had some damage for the last quarter of that event. Rob Evans right now 4th on the board. Still your points leader over Casey Hoyt by 3 points coming into this race. Remember, Rob Evans holds a non-charter victory at a road course back in Season 4, I believe it was, at the Indianapolis road course, so keep an eye on him this weekend. Jesse Turner, a couple of weeks ago, got his first victory of the season at the Chicago Motor Speedway. He's sitting 10th right now in terms of speed. Doesn't look like at the moment he would be in line to qualify in on time. He's got the heat race coming up if he's not inside the top 7, and then of course could fall back on owner points, being third in overall standings, only 21 points out of the points lead. Right behind him is Reese Banks. Banks was at the top of the board for a good portion of this session. He has since fallen to third at his 52.222. Reese Banks just outside the top 10, the points coming into this weekend. He is 6 points below the cut line in 12th. And he just jumped back up to the top of the board right there with that lap. 52.110 for the Aldo's Pizza Ford Mustang. Another pizza-related Ford Mustang is Michael Norman, the Pizza Hut Ford out of Michael Norman Motorsports. Right now 16th on the board for him. Michael gained 6 spots in the standings last week after a solid run. I believe he finished just outside the top 5 in 6th last weekend. But he's 19th in overall standings, making a pretty quick ascent up through the points. Will Goss in the 11 comes into this one 13th in points. It's the first time in a long time that Will Goss has fallen out of the top 10 in overall standings, so he is now in a wild card position coming into this race. He is in the 3rd wild card position as the playoff standings look right now, and he's currently 20th on the speed charts also. Needs a little bit more to get into the Fast 7, so too does Casey Hoyt, who just ran his fastest lap, but is 14th on the speed charts. Casey Hoyt, 2-time winner, 3 points out of the points lead, and as things stand right now, Rob Evans, his competitor for that points lead, is currently sitting in a Fast 7 slot in 4th place. Dylan Young's the first car just outside of the Fast 7 at 8th place, 52.397 to Levi McIntyre's 314. Dylan Young last week with a good run, almost ended up getting the victory from James Qualls, finished runner-up, but he gained 5 spots in the standings, and he's back up in the top 10 in points, 10th in overall points coming into this weekend. Cole Deaver in the number 3. Last week, engine failure plagued him at the very start of the race. Finished dead last. He's 12th on the board right now, and still 12th on the board as his lap time improved. I wanted to see if it actually upped his position, but 52.498 is what he just ran. Because of that DNF last week, Cole Deaver now 29th in overall points coming to this one. Cody Lamas in the 84. Last week we saw it in the NNSCRA split cam, but we didn't see it actually happen live. Had some contact between himself and Zachary Fitzwater leaving pit road after the cycle green flag pit stops. Got spun up into the wall up into turn 1. It didn't bring out a caution. And because of that, Cody Lamas ended up not getting a very good finish. Subsequently dropped to 28th in the point standings. Right now 16th on the board in that Florida Panthers Chevrolet Camaro. 3rd right now for Keith Batson. Batson 14th in overall points coming into this one. Looking good in the Jiffy Lube Ford Mustang, as he's currently in a position to advance in the Fast 7 and lock himself into the main event tomorrow. Chris Dollerton just jumped from, what was that, 22nd to 11th on the board. 52.401. Dollerton with another impressive outing last week. Now 17th in overall points coming into this weekend is the inaugural champion. I think we've cycled through most of the drivers here. Levi McIntyre, he was the cut line driver the last time I looked. He just ran a 52.161, moving him up to 2nd place on the board. He just bested Dylan Poteet for 2nd place by 1/1000th. That puts Will Goss in the 11 currently on the bubble. Behind Jesse Turner, Rob Evans, Keith Batson, Dylan Poteet, McIntyre, and the fastest currently in this session, Reese Banks. So your top 7 would be locked into the show tomorrow. The remaining 16 drivers would take part in a heat race after our second group come out here for qualifying. Top 5 from that would advance in, and then we would go to the owner points for the final positions to be filled out. Jesse Turner right now 3/1000ths above the cut line in 6th. Rob Evans is only 5/1000ths above the cut line. The first driver out right now is Chris Dollerton, who improved on his lap time once again. He was 11th, then 8th. Let's see what he does this time. He's got to beat a 300 flat, and he did. 52.221 for Chris Dollerton. Move him up to P6. That will drop Will Goss out of the top 7, and I believe Jesse Turner just got knocked out of the top 7 as well, because Cole Deaver jumped up to 2nd place at a 52.137. Big time lap for the Dale Senior throwback. There he is. And now he's dropping down the board from 2nd down to 4th. Wait and see who the names are that jumped up there, and that's going to maybe knock Rob Evans and Chris Dollerton out of the top 7. Waiting to see who it is. It looks like Rob Evans just went to the top of the board. 51. Second lap time, 51.990. Dylan Young just jumped up to 2nd at a 52.074. And that just knocked Chris Dollerton and Keith Batson out of the Fast 7. Jesse Turner is back on the bubble at a 52.193 with zeros on the clock. Last opportunity here for drivers to put down those timed lap times to advance their way in. Will Goss sitting in 10th. Does he have something here to get into the Fast 7? Nope, no improvement for him. Dylan Young is safely in. Deaver looks like he's safely in. What about Batson? He's the first guy out. He's got to beat a 193, and looks like they stopped scoring for both him and Chris Dollerton. So it looks like that is it. It looks like the session is complete. And Rob Evans, where in the world did that lap time come from? 51.990. The only driver to break into the sub-52s. He will be the pole sitter for tomorrow's main event with that lap time. Dylan Young, Levi McIntyre, Reese Banks, Cole Deaver, Dylan Poteet, and Jesse Turner. They are locked in this session alone. They will not have to rely on the heat races. They will not have to rely on owner points. They are going to be locked into tomorrow's race, and they will all start up on the inside line of the first 7 rows inside of the top 15. Keith Batson being the first driver out means he'll be the pole sitter for the upcoming heat race for the drivers in this session that failed to qualify. Chris Dollerton will share the front row with him. Will Goss and Mitchell Collins would be in row 2, and then on down to RJ Bishop. So congratulations to the 7 drivers that locked themselves into the field for tomorrow's main event here. 7 more drivers are going to join them in just a moment in the upcoming second qualifying session, and then we get to our heat races. So don't go anywhere. Coverage of qualifying for tomorrow's Suzuka main event continues here in just a few moments on NNSCRA TV. Thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast on NNSCRA TV. If you enjoyed your watching, it would help us out a lot if you'd hit that like button. Also, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to become a part of the NNSCRA crew today. And if you're on your phone, be sure to click that bell to be notified whenever we have a broadcast here on NNSCRA TV. Once again, we thank you for your support, and we hope you continue to enjoy today's broadcast. All right, second qualifying session ready to run here with our remaining 22 drivers that have not yet gone out and taken time. While we're waiting for drivers to head on out onto the racetrack, let's remind everybody how the qualifying goes down here today in preparation for who will be the 30 drivers taking part in tomorrow's main event. You heard right, 30 drivers, not 42, not 36 that we had back in Mid-Ohio. Only 30 drivers will qualify. 7 are already locked in the first qualifying session. Here in this group, the top 7 speeds will also advance into the main event tomorrow. Remaining drivers from the last group, and then from this group as well, they'll take part in 2 different heat races. The top 5 finishers from those heat races will also advance. We will then fill in 5 of the final spots with the drivers that did not advance, that are the highest in the point standings. And then the final spot will go to the highest champion, past champion, in the point standings. If, though, all of our former champions have already locked themselves into the field at that point in time, the final position will go to the next and final highest driver in points that has not already locked themselves into tomorrow's main event. Charles Sanford, I believe, was the first one off of pit road. He is, I think, on the clock. And he will be the one that will begin setting the benchmark, setting the gauntlet for these other drivers. Charles Sanford last week couldn't make it on fuel in the closing stages and finished way down in the finishing results at New Hampshire. Subsequently, 25th in points coming to this one is the defending champion of the series. Cole Deaver, though, put down a very good lap time. The only S3 Motorsports car in that session, the first session, so gotta think there was probably a little conference going on down there on pit road between him, Shelton, Matthews, and Sanford. Try and get all four of the S3 Motorsports cars locked into the main event. I think we had a couple of lap times put down, but I think they were warm-up laps. Zach Rogers and I think it was Connor Breton. But you'll start to see official lap times scrolling across the top of your screen here. Zach Rogers right now the fastest. Rogers, a very good road course racer, and he's been doing pretty well in terms of his finishing results last couple of weeks. Been up in the top 15 pretty much on the regular for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So keep an eye on him. Kyler Sustre in the 4. The last time we had this kind of a qualifying session where a number of drivers are going to miss out on the show was back at Mid-Ohio, and Kyler Sustre made that event. So we'll see what he's going to be able to do here this weekend. Kyler Sustre is the cut line driver right now, 30th in points, so his win still, I believe, counts towards a playoff position. Yes, it does. As things stand right now, as far as the wild card is concerned, Jessica Shelton right now has the #1 seed for the wild card drivers with her 2 wins. And then you got Caleb Fogler, Will Goss, Zachary Fitzwater, and Kyler Sustre as the one-time winners outside of the top 10, but inside the top 30. That means that coming into this weekend, a driver without a win, but it's up there in the point standings, would get the final spot, and that would be Reese Banks, 12th in overall points. Obviously, there's still a pretty good chunk of season left to go, some very interesting racetracks still left to run, but that is the playoff outlook coming into this weekend nonetheless. And we already know that Reese Banks is locked into the main event, one of the 7 drivers that advanced in through the previous group's qualifying session. 7 more drivers will join them here in this one. Let's try and find the 7 of Zach Rogers. See where he's at, because he's running pretty high up there on the board. There he is. The Digital Storm Chevrolet. He's 3rd on the board right now, 52.466. Right behind him is teammate Zachary Fitzwater, who, oh yeah, by the way, we talk about Mid-Ohio and the finagle that went through of trying to qualify for that race. Zachary Fitzwater was the winner of that event. His first win up to this point on the season. Right now, he is 6th on the board at a 52.606, so he's hovering right around that cut line. He'll want to find a little bit more speed, get himself a bit of a cushion. We saw a lot of speeds pick up towards the end of that last qualifying session in like the final 5 to 10 minutes. So expect to see that again more than likely in this one. Kyle Matthews right now 6th on the board at a 52.561. Matthews coming into this one 41st in points. basically gotten to the point now where he's just looking for top 10s. Just looking to find some kind of consistency. It's been such a struggling year for the former champion. Just jumped up to 4th on the board there at a 52.509. Second on the board is Connor Breton. Breton, you'll see tomorrow in the main event when we show you the playoff grid, his name will not be on there. He is 31st in points, 1 point below the cut line. So his 2 victories on the season so far, Texas and Charlotte, would not count towards a playoff position via wild card. Right now, he's looking like he would be in line to advance into the main event if he can hold up there in the top 7. Matt McIntyre in the 14th position. Matt McIntyre was having a okay run last week. He was running about mid-pack. Got involved in a wreck after he got into the back of Reggie Fogelman, spun up in turn 3. Had to deal with that damage for second half of the race and actually had to make an unscheduled pit stop to do a little bit of repair. Finished off the lead lap as a result. And Matt McIntyre comes into this one 38th in points, dropped 5 spots in the standings with the poor finish. Alright, I mentioned the fact that with this being another road course race, our road course ringers came back out to play. Well, Ralph Mason definitely made an impression in his first career start back at Mid-Ohio. Qualified well, ran well, finished in the top 5. Or, I'm sorry, in the top 10, I should say. He finished in the 6th position after qualifying 3rd. He is back here, an international driver at an international racetrack, trying to make his way into the show in the Kyotech Racing Audi. Right now he is 11th on the board, so he's got some work to do to advance into his second start of the season. Another of the drivers of the road course ringers that's out here is Nico Servideo. Nico is yet to make a race this year. He tried at Mid-Ohio, failed to qualify. I believe there was another road course that he tried at as well, and he was unable to qualify in either of the attempts. Nico right now, he was 4th, then dropped to 5th, and now he's down the bubble in 7th position at a 52.387 in that 4th entry out of Blue Oval Automotive. That team's been doing really good as of late, though. Talk about a team that's been doing good. How about Carson Gum? Carson Gum, last couple of weeks, has been very good. Had the runner-up finish to Jesse Turner at Chicago Motor Speedway. Last week, up inside of the top 10 again after he played some strategy on the green flag pit stop. Came in later, used the fresh tires on restarts to work his way up from the top 15 into the top 10. Right now he is 5th on the board at 52.328. Carson Gum, the former champion, 16th in overall standings coming into this weekend's race. We just dropped down to 6th, and so he's close to the bubble. I feel like a lot of drivers are going to find themselves on the bubble here and are hoping that these little less than 6 minutes tick away very, very fast. Jose Mills right now 9th on the board. Jose coming into this one 18th in points. He was one of about a half dozen drivers in the closing stages of last week's race in New Hampshire. Could not make it on fuel, threw away a top 15 finish as a result. And because of that, he dropped down in the points after he's been slowly picking up a spot or two every week in the overall standings. Well, we're here in Suzuka, Japan. You gotta have the Mazda 787B livery on the track, right? Nick Gunther just hoping that this gives him a little bit of good luck. The 4-time winner from last year finds himself 39th in the standings. He did gain a spot last week, but it wasn't due to anything flashy. He ended up, I believe, bypassing Joshua Osborne in the points from 40th up to 39th. And remember, Nick Gunther last year had 2 of his victories at road courses. He ended up winning at Infineon, and he also ended up winning at the Charlotte Roval. So if there's a place that Nick Gunther can try and find a little glimmer of hope in what has been a dark cloud of a season, you would have to think it has to be right here at Suzuka. Right now he is 8th on the board, just outside of the Fast 7 to advance and lock into the main event. 52.331. He needs to find another 700ths to edge out Kyle Matthews, who's right now on the bubble line. Ryan Butcher and the Popeyes Toyota right now is 5th, so he's currently in a position to lock into tomorrow's event. Good run for him last week, up 2 spots, 24th in points. He's slowly making the climb. Keep an eye on this guy. He had some late season dramatics to get into the playoffs last year as well. Joshua Osborne, we mentioned, dropped to 40th in the standings after Nick Gunther bypassed him last week. Osborne right now 19th on the board in the 27 car. He needs to find a lot more speed in that machine. Got to find another 3.5 tenths to get into the Fast 7. Laura Chung, her first career win, was at a road course last season, Watkins Glen. Been a very struggling year for her, though, in her, this is, I believe, her second full-time season. Last week, though, pretty decent outing. Gained 4 spots in standings, but 27th in overall points. Matthew Rodriguez, outside of the top 30 in points. The Daytona 500 winner, 2-time winner on the season. 36th in overall standings coming into this one. He is 19th on the board right now. It's getting to the point, I feel like if he fails to qualify for another 2 or 3 races, with how limited number of races we have left here in the regular season, I don't think he's going to make the playoffs. They've had a great effort here. Rodriguez wasn't even planning on running full-time, but he got the Daytona 500 victory, and Haas Racing said, hey, in the rides we don't have somebody slated in, we'll put you in the car. Bishop Family Racing then said the races that they've got somebody in the car, we'll put you in our car. They've tried as best they could to help Matthew Rodriguez be able to be in the championship battle, but he's failed to qualify now for 5 races. It's given him huge hits in the point standings, and it's pretty safe to say he's got to qualify for every event here on out for the rest of the regular season, I think, to be able to get himself up there into the top 30 in the standings, or at least to get up there and stay in the top 30 in the standings. And right now, 19th on the board is not going to cut it. Jessica Shelton not doing much better, 18th on the board right now for her, another 2-time winner. Shelton 26th in the standings. She is 17 points ahead of the cut line, so she is looking to not only make the event, but also open up a sizable cushion back to 30th in the standings. She is the only 2-time winner inside the top 30, but outside the top 10, so she holds the current 1 seed for the wild card drivers. Bubble driver is Benjamin Snyder, who had an incredible debut in Duracell Cup Series competition this year. Of course, ran full-time last year for Lake Effect Autosport, but in his own Benjamin Snyder racing entry at Mid-Ohio, qualified 2nd, finished in 2nd place. Almost picked up his first career victory. Right now, he's at a 52.233 on the bubble spot to make his 2nd start on the season. Daniel Boyle's back here in the 26. Boyles is 22nd on the board right now, 34th in points. New colors here in Japan, the Nintendo Toyota Camry for Matt Haas. He's 21st on the board right now, so he's going to be pretty deep in the field for the upcoming heat race. Quentin Moore is 12th in the 89. Zach Rogers right behind him in 3rd. Kyle Matthews is top of the board right now, so he's locked into the show. Carson Gum right now in 2nd. Zach Rogers 3rd. Connor Breton in 4th. So Chevrolet's sweeping the top 4 spots. Nico Servideo right now in the Fast 7 at 5th. Ryan Butcher currently sits 6th, and Benjamin Snyder, as I mentioned right now, is the cut line driver. Let's keep an eye on him as zeros around the clock. Make sure he doesn't fall out of that top 7 in these final few seconds. It'd be Servideo and Snyder, non-charter drivers, that would lock themselves into the field tomorrow, would not have to participate in the heat races. First driver out would be Zachary Fitzwater. He's 8/100ths off of Benjamin Snyder's lap time. It's not nearly as close as I expected it was going to be. Fitzwater, if everything holds, would be the pole sitter for his heat for this 2nd group coming up a little bit later. Got 2 heat races coming up, and then we go to work and doing all the calculations of owners' points and who is in, who is not. Matthew Rodriguez is coming to pit road. 19th on the speed charts for him. Let's see if they even score the 50 this time by. I think that all lap times have been counted. Just waiting for everybody to make their way back around. And I think that is going to do it here for the second group of qualifying. 7 drivers had already locked themselves in the first group. 7 drivers locking themselves here in this second group, and it is now official. Kyle Matthews, he will be on the outside of the front row for tomorrow's race. Carson Gum is going to be starting in 4th. Zach Rogers in 6th. Connor Breton 8th, and Nico Servideo will make his first career start tomorrow, as he will be making up the remainder of the top 10. Ryan Butcher and Benjamin Snyder, they will also lock themselves in through the Fast 7 here in this qualifying session. So it looks like we're going to have a Chevy front row with Rob Evans, Kyle Matthews tomorrow. The remaining drivers, Zachary Fitzwater on down, they'll be a part of the upcoming heat race for this second group. Fitzwater and Nick Gunther will share the front row for that heat race. All right, we've got 7 drivers from the first group, 7 drivers from the second group locked in. 14 spots are already claimed. We still have 16 spots yet to figure out, and 10 of those are going to be determined in the upcoming 2 heat races. So don't go anywhere. Those are coming up in just a few moments, right after this commercial break, as qualifying continues here. It's a long one at Suzuka here on NNSCRA TV. Thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast on NNSCRA TV. If you enjoyed your watching, it would help us out a lot if you'd hit that like button. Also, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to become a part of the NNSCRA crew today. And if you're on your phone, be sure to click that bell to be notified whenever we have a broadcast here on NNSCRA TV. Once again, we thank you for your support, and we hope you continue to enjoy today's broadcast. Welcome back to qualifying here from Suzuka Raceway. We've got 14 drivers already locked into the field. This will be the first of 2 heats to determine another 10 drivers that will lock themselves in. Top 5 finishers from this 20-lap sprint will be locking themselves into the show. After the upcoming second heat, we'll be determining the rest of the lineup. 5 drivers will get in via owner points. 1 driver, if necessary, will get in through a championship provisional. If we don't need the championship provisional, then 6 drivers will get in on owner points. Keith Batson, he was 8th fastest in round 1 of qualifying. Chris Dollerton was 9th, so they make up the front row here for this 20-lap sprint. Here we go. This will give you an idea of what to expect tomorrow when 30 drivers take the green flag. And we're already 3 wide back here. Reggie Fogelman, Mitchell Collins, Destin Bolin in that 3 wide situation. Batson not able to clear for the top position over Dollerton. Should get him here through this left-hander. But then Dollerton battles back through the right-hand corner. Still dead even between those 2. Might want to get this settled out sooner rather than later. First thing you don't want to do is wreck each other and take each other out of this thing, but then also, the more side-by-side battling, the better chance you have of somebody else being able to capitalize on you. This first lap is going to be led by Keith Batson. He'll edge out Dollerton. Fogelman moving into 3rd. Will Goss right now in 4th, and I believe Mitchell Collins currently holds the 5th position, which is the final transfer spot into the main event through this heat. Dollerton's going to clear for the top spot. Now Batson will slot into 2nd. Obviously, track position usually very important when it comes to road courses, but I think for a lot of these drivers, you just want to make the show. You could care less where you qualify, because think about it. Only 30 drivers are going to make the show here tomorrow afternoon. We already know 2 drivers are non-charter drivers in Nico Servideo and Benjamin Snyder. They qualified in the Fast 7 in the second group back in round 1. as the caution flag is out, so we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Yellow flag waving. We got a couple cars towards the back there. Michael Norman was one of them. I couldn't tell who the other was. Possibly the 98 of RJ Bishop, but I couldn't tell from that far away. So we're going to have a couple of laps tick away here under caution. So Casey Hoyt was the other driver. He's got some back end damage. Looks like he may have backed it into somewhere. Looks like a little bit of a compact rear deck lid for the 22 of Michael Norman as well. So pretty safe to assume those two made some contact. We'll go back and take a look at a replay of what happened. Let's figure out where on the racetrack this occurred. Looked like it was in through the S's. Back here towards the rear of the field, Michael Norman just got really loose, was trying to gather it back up, slid into the right rear quarter panel of Casey Hoyt, and they both backed it into the tires there. Fortunate for both of those drivers is the fact that they didn't get stuck in the sand trap. The bad news is obviously they've got damage and they're going to be at the rear of the field for the upcoming restart. That loss of track position with laps ticking away kind of puts them in a bit of a precarious position. Now Casey Hoyt coming into this race second in the point standings. I mean, if he fails to advance, I think it's pretty safe to say he's going to be locked into the field tomorrow via owner points. Michael Norman, on the other hand, is 19th in the owner points. I don't know if that necessarily means he would get into the race. That doesn't seem high enough, to be perfectly honest, but we'll have to wait and see. Remember, only 5, maybe 6 positions get handed out to the drivers via owner points here in tomorrow's starting lineup. Lights are out, as you see. Very quick caution laps here. Pretty much they take the caution, pits are open the next time around, and then the one to green. So Chris Dollerton will get us back underway over Batson, Fogelman, Goss, and Collins, currently in the 5 transfer spots. As we get back underway, go back to my point there of the fact that we're going to have a lot of non-charter drivers that are going to fail to make the show. Upwards of about, well, with 2 non-charter drivers in the field, we now have a potential maximum of 14 charter drivers that will fail to make the main event tomorrow. That's a lot of points left on the table. Big opportunity for the drivers that do make it into the race to gain multiple positions in the standings. So going back to the point I was talking about here with Dollerton and Batson battling it out here inside the top 5, why do that? You're locked into the show. You're going to get some really good points tomorrow by even making the grid. Don't ruin your chances by battling each other and potentially taking yourself out of the starting lineup tomorrow. And all of those valuable points that are up for grabs. Reggie Fogelman, though, going to take a peek here on Chris Dollerton for the race lead. Now, in this heat, the winner of this heat will end up starting 15th in tomorrow's starting lineup. The winner of the second upcoming heat will start in 16th. The top 5 finishers in each respective heat race will make up the inside row of rows 8 through 13 in tomorrow's starting lineup, and then in heat 2, the outside rows of the outside line of rows 8 through 13 for the top 5 finishers there. Will Goss putting the pressure on Keith Batson. That's for 3rd place right now. And then Mitchell Collins currently riding in the final transfer spot. Driver he's got to worry about would be Ryan Brommer, currently first car out in the 6th position. So you look here in this group alone, Austin LaPlante, currently outside of a transfer spot. Destin Bolin, outside of a transfer spot. James Qualls as well. Gotta think they would be in the conversation of drivers that would transfer in via owner points. Rob Evans is already locked into the show. Jesse Turner is locked into the show. And so too is Levi McIntyre. Caleb Fogler would probably be in the conversation, I would think, maybe of a driver that could get in on owner points, as he's currently outside of a transfer spot. And maybe, just maybe, wait, is he in this group? Oh, he's already locked in. I was looking for Dylan Poteet. He's already locked in, so I don't know. Honestly, I'm not certain, as Reggie Fogelman has taken the lead, I'm not necessarily certain that anybody from Group 2 would be able to make it in on owner points. I'm trying to like run down this list and see if there's anybody in that second group that's high enough in the point standings that they could be able to get one of the 5 spots. I mean, right now I'm looking, and if I've counted it on one hand, Casey Hoyt, James Qualls, Austin LaPlante, Destin Bolin, and Caleb Fogler right now look like they would be the ones to transfer in on owner points. Mitchell Collins is right now in a transfer spot, so he wouldn't need to worry about owner points at this moment. I don't know. We have to wait and see how it shakes out, as we're nearing halfway here through this heat, and Reggie Fogelman looking really good right now in that 24 car. Got the race lead away from Chris Dollerton. Fogelman started this race from, I believe, 6th position? No, 5th position. And has made his way up to the front and is pulling away. Dollerton right there in 2nd. Another thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on here is that championship provisional, because drivers that obviously would be eligible for the championship provisional would include Chris Dollerton, Carson Gumm, as well as Kyle Matthews, Caleb Fogler, and Charles Sanford, the defending champion. Well, Kyle Matthews, we know, is already locked in. He was the fastest in Group 2 in Round 1 of qualifying. Carson Gumm was 2nd fastest, so he's locked in. So that puts the jury out on Dollerton, Fogler, and Sanford. Well, Sanford, we're going to be seeing in the upcoming second heat. Dollerton right now is already in a transfer spot in 2nd place. And Caleb Fogler, as things stand right now, he's 12th on the board, but he would more than likely be in line to get in on owner points, so he wouldn't have to fall back on the championship provisional. So that makes things interesting as well, as to whether that final spot would go to a past champion, or if it would end up going to the next highest driver in owner points that is not already locked into the race, once we've gotten everything all figured out. Something I just noticed there as well, this is something to maybe squirrel away for tomorrow. Remember, Michael Norman and Casey Hoyt were involved in that wreck. Michael Norman, despite that rear end damage, has managed to get around James Qualls and RJ Bishop. Appears to still be up to speed and putting the pressure there on the 28 of Caleb Fogler for 12th place. So just that minor bit of contact does not seem to affect his speed. That's something that we'll have to keep an eye on tomorrow if we run into some issues. Still got one more heat race coming up here. We'll get all the done and dusted of who's in, who's out for tomorrow's main event. Only 30 drivers will be making the start tomorrow. But if you haven't had your fill of Suzuka racing this weekend, later on this afternoon, Duracell Light Series drivers are back, getting ready to continue on their season here from the Suzuka road course. Should be a good one. Mitchell Collins trying to run away from Ryan Brommer. Brommer in pursuit. Let's go on board with the Twix Toyota. Take a lap around Suzuka Raceway. Ryan Brommer liking what he's seen up ahead. Mitchell Collins putting the pressure on Will Goss. If Collins can bypass the 11, Brommer could maybe get up there and capitalize also. Final spots right there. Final transfer spots into the main event tomorrow. Goss in 4th, Collins in 5th. As Reggie Fogelman has checked out. Last time by, over 3 seconds. Back to 2nd place, Chris Dallerton. Some really good lap times being laid down by this 24. He'll obviously be starting mid-pack tomorrow. Keep an eye on Reggie Fogelman as he's looking for his 2nd career win, 1st on the season, 15th in overall points. You got to think that he would have been in the conversation of a driver being able to transfer in via owner points if he weren't running up in a transfer spot right now. Austin LaPlante. Saw him moments ago trying to make a move on Destin Bolin. These two right here in line potentially to make the show tomorrow. Despite missing out on a transfer spot, they'd get in on owner points. LaPlante 5th in overall points. Destin Bolin 6th. Drivers that absolutely needed to be up in a transfer spot, though, that I think it's pretty safe to say if they aren't up in the top 5 at the conclusion, based on where they're positioned in the standings, Cody Lamas would be 1. Cody's 28th in points. Ryan Brommer, 20th in the standings. Anthony McCrory, 23rd. Michael Norman, 19th. I mean, these are drivers that I just don't see them being high enough in the point standings that they would be able to transfer in. RJ Bishop, another 33rd in points. Benjamin Miles, 35th in points. So yeah, their only shot right now is to be able to get in via top 5. Now, I'm pretty certain as well, though I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty certain that they scheduled the 20 laps here, that pit road's not going to come into play. Should be able to make it 20 laps on a tank of fuel. This racetrack, it looks so short, looks so easy, but we saw on board there with Ryan Brommer, you couldn't feel it, obviously. If you're the driver, you can definitely feel it. When you're in the shorter sections of this racetrack that Reggie Fogelman is approaching here with the lefts and rights and the S's, especially that uphill there heading to the final corner to the front stretch, you feel like you're floating. There's so much off the throttle time, so much feathering of the throttle. It's almost literally like the car is floating. And when he comes up to this one specific area that you'll see here, makes the left-hand uphill climb to the right-hander. Right here, there's a bump right there. And you can feel the car bottom out, and it wants to spin out up in that corner. And there's no banking there. It's elevation and then like a flat drop. And if you end up getting out of shape, that is an area where a lot of drivers are able to capitalize on mistakes of other drivers that they are battling. Fogelman, though, has looked really good. Something else to kind of... the one thing I love about these heat races, too, it gives us a little bit of a precursor of what to expect tomorrow in the main event. And I'm looking at Reggie Fogelman. He's opening up the gap continually between himself and Chris Dallerton. It's up to over 5 seconds, by the way. But he has lost 0.6 of a second on tire fall off from his fastest lap to the lap he just ran. So that is going to prove to be important tomorrow in terms of if we have green flag pit stops, the power of the undercut. Which, at most road courses that we've been to, we haven't really seen the power of the undercut. Mid-Ohio was a track where we saw that. This next-gen rules package has definitely made things a little bit more intriguing, a little bit different. I've liked what we've had in terms of racing this season at a lot of the tracks that we've not exactly had the most of exciting racing at in the past. Mitchell Collins right now in that final transfer spot. It's got about 3.5, 4 car lengths back to Ryan Brommer. Brommer is running out of time. He's running out of laps. Just hoping somebody up there in that top 5 makes a mistake so that way he can race his way into the show. It's Reggie Fogelman, who has been putting down some incredible lap times after he got around Dallerton, has just been pulling away. running the livery of another very well-known road course racer, A.J. Allmendinger. That Colleague racing car that he put in victory lane back at the Indianapolis road course. Well, Reggie Fogelman's going to see the white flag here at Suzuka. Just a little less than a mile and a half away from locking himself into the show tomorrow. Starting from the 15th position. Chris Dollerton holding the second spot. Keith Batson right behind him in third. Then Will Goss and Mitchell Collins. Fogelman's 15th in points. Dollerton's 17th. Batson 14th. Goss is 13th. And Collins is 9th. And they will be building up some points here tomorrow, locking themselves into the show. Reggie Fogelman comes down and receives the checkered flag, dominating fashion here in this heat. Dollerton, Batson, Goss, and Mitchell Collins are officially the 5 drivers transferring in through this heat race. They'll be a part of the show tomorrow. You have to wait on the conclusion of the upcoming second heat race to figure out who's getting in on owner points, but I think it's safe to say Casey Hoyt, Austin LaPlante, Destin Bolin would have to be in that conversation. Have to wait and see about any others, and of course also with Dollerton transferring in, that is 3 of the 4 previous champions that are still in the series that are locked in. So now we have to wait and see what happens with, or I'm sorry, 3 of the 5 previous champions. Now we have to see what happens with Charles Sanford, and of course we have to wait and see if Caleb Fogle gets in on owner's points, or we'll have to rely on that championship provisional. Standings are official. The only positions that really matter, though, are the top 5 that transfer into the main event. Fogelman, Dollerton, Batson, Goss, and Mitchell Collins. They'll be a part of the show tomorrow. I think it's pretty safe to say some names that we probably will not see in tomorrow's race that will fail to qualify. Cody Lamas, Anthony McCurry, Benjamin Miles, Michael Norman, RJ Bishop. Tough break for all of them. Ryan Brommer could probably be added to that list also. Jury's out there. James Qualls, I think he's got to be in the owner's points conversation as well. I failed to mention his name. LaPlante, Casey Hoyt. I think they are obviously in that conversation as well. Caleb Fogler, we kind of have to wait and see where he is positioned. But we may have most of our owner points drivers in this group right here that transfer in. We'll have to wait and see, though, what happens in the upcoming second heat race. Another 20 laps coming up in just a moment to set the final 5 to race their way in to tomorrow's main event here from Suzuka. Thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast on NNSCRA TV. If you enjoyed your watching, it would help us out a lot if you'd hit that like button. Also, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to become a part of the NNSCRA crew today. And if you're on your phone, be sure to click that bell to be notified whenever we have a broadcast here on NNSCRA TV. Once again, we thank you for your support, and we hope you continue to enjoy today's broadcast. Final opportunity for drivers to race their way into tomorrow's main event here from Suzuka. Zachary Fitzwater, who was 8th fastest in the group qualifying session earlier, gets the pole for this one. Nick Gunther, who was 9th fastest, will join him on the front row. Charles Sanford, one of our former champions. A lot weighs in the balance for a driver maybe making it in on owner points if he can't transfer in via the top 5. Matt McIntyre going to join him in that second row. Only 5 drivers will transfer in through this heat, the top 5 drivers. And Zachary Fitzwater, who won the last time we were at a road course at Mid-Ohio, is going to be the one to bring us down here to the green flag. Another 20 laps on tap here at Suzuka. After this, it'll come down to owner's points as to who will be the remaining 5 drivers to get in. If necessary, the championship provisional will come into play as well. We saw Chris Dollerton from the outside of the front row manage to get around Keith Batson for the race lead. Let's see if Gunther's able to get around Fitzwater for the top spot here, and it looks like he very well might. Yes, he'll clear. Gunther will move into the top spot. Fitzwater will tuck right in line behind him in second place. Good battle around the transfer spot as you've got Quentin Moore, Jose Mills, Charles Sanford all in that vicinity. Quentin looking for the fourth position here on Charles Sanford. Sanford going to hold off the 89 for now. Jose Mills will take a look. That's for the final transfer spot between Moore and Mills. Mills got to take the longer way around here on the left-hander, then has the shorter way on the right-hander. Might have the advantage here as far as the cornerings are concerned on Quentin Moore to move into that fifth position right here. Not quite going to be able to do it. Moore going to battle back. Now they got the uphill right-hander. And will Mills clear for the spot this time? Hard to see through the trees, but yes he will. Jose Mills will move into the final transfer spot right there with the pass on Quentin Moore. So I did a little bit of digging during our race break right there to see out of this group who the highest driver is in points, to see if anybody in this particular group would be in the conversation of a owner points transfer. And it looks like the answer to that is no. The highest driver that has not already locked themselves in this group would actually be Quentin Moore, and he is 21st in overall points. There are a plethora of drivers in that first group that are way higher in the point standings that would transfer in. So as of right now, if Quentin Moore doesn't race his way into the event, I don't think he would get in via an owner's points provisional. So as things stand right now, if we looked at the 5 drivers that would transfer in on owner points, it looks like they would be Casey Hoyt, James Qualls, Austin LaPlante, Destin Bolin, and Caleb Fogler, which would be very good news for anybody looking to get in via owner points and not having to have a past champion rely on a championship provisional, because Caleb Fogler, a past champion, would not need it. We've already mentioned about Kyle Matthews and Carson Gum already locking themselves into the field. And Charles Sanford right now is in a transfer spot in the 4th position. So with all that being said, I believe the next highest driver that did not transfer in would, I believe, be Michael Norman, 19th in overall points. I'd have to double check on that, but I believe that is the case. I believe everybody else between him and Fogler are already either locked in or running in a transfer position. So Banks is locked in. Goss transferred in that last heat race. So did Batson, Fogelman. Carson Gum locked himself in the first round of qualifying. Dollerton transferred in the first heat race. Actually, no, it would be Michael Norman. I was going to say Jose Mills might take the spot, but Mills is right now in a transfer position in 5th. So if he transfers in, yeah, it would be Michael Norman, 19th in overall points, that would get the final transfer spot in. He has to hope that Charles Sanford does not fall out of the top 5. But Nick Gunther, we've talked about the season he's had, 4-time winner last year. It has just been a struggle for this 55 team here in their second full-time season with the Mazdas. Anthony McCurry has been doing okay. He's had a good finish here, a good finish there, though it looks like he's going to fail to qualify for the show this week. You think about Gunther last year, 4 trips to victory lane, won the regular season championship as well. This year, he has just not had the numbers 19 starts, only one top 10. No top 5s. That just does not seem like Nick Gunther numbers at all based off of not only even last year, but you think about the year prior when it was himself, Anthony McCurry, and Mike Tellier that drove the 55 for Gunther Motorsports. Gunther went to victory lane in that car. Mike Tellier did as well. That team did very well in the point standings. That team made it into the playoffs as well. They didn't advance into the Final Four, but they were definitely in the playoffs. This has been a down year for Nick Gunther as a driver. Still got a chance to finish out the season well, but I don't know if he's going to have a shot of getting into the playoffs. Even if he goes on a tear here with wins, I don't know if I can do the quick math in my head. Looks like he's about 50 points. No, 40 points below 30th in the standings. I mean, if he makes the show tomorrow and wins the race, there's a bunch of drivers that are ahead of him in points that are in line of not making it. Matthew Rodriguez, Benjamin Miles, Daniel Voiles, RJ Bishop, all look like they're going to fail to qualify tomorrow. So, you know, that's a big chunk of points he can make up if he's able to win or even get a top 5 tomorrow afternoon. You have to wait and see. It's been a season of never say never. But right now, Nick Gunther, Zachary Fitzwater, Matt McIntyre, Charles Sanford, and Jose Mills are in the transfer positions here to try and make the main event tomorrow afternoon. We're going to take another quick NSRA TV race break and then be back here to the action as we're nearing halfway in the second heat of the afternoon here for qualifying for Suzuka. Thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast on NNSCRA TV. If you enjoyed your watching, it would help us out a lot if you'd hit that like button. Also, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to become a part of the NNSCRA crew today. And if you're on your phone, be sure to click that bell to be notified whenever we have a broadcast here on NNSCRA TV. Once again, we thank you for your support and we hope you continue to enjoy today's broadcast. Final opportunity for drivers to race their way into tomorrow's main event here from Suzuka. Zachary Fitzwater, who was 8th fastest in the group qualifying session earlier, gets the pole for this one. Nick Gunther, who was 9th fastest, will join him on the front row. Charles Sanford, one of our former champions. A lot weighs in the balance for a driver maybe making it in on owner points if he can't transfer in via the top 5. Matt McIntyre going to join him in that second row. Only 5 drivers will transfer in through this heat, the top 5 drivers. And Zachary Fitzwater, who won the last time we were at a road course at Mid-Ohio, is going to be the one to bring us down here to the green flag. Another 20 laps on tap here at Suzuka. After this, it'll come down to owner's points as to who will be the remaining 5 drivers to get in. If necessary, the championship provisional will come into play as well. We saw Chris Dollerton from the outside of the front row manage to get around Keith Batson for the race lead. Let's see if Gunther's able to get around Fitzwater for the top spot here, and it looks like he very well might. Yes, he'll clear. Gunther will move into the top spot. Fitzwater will tuck right in line behind him in second place. Good battle around the transfer spot as you've got Quentin Moore, Jose Mills, Charles Sanford all in that vicinity. Quentin looking for the 4th position here on Charles Sanford. Sanford going to hold off the 89 for now. Jose Mills will take a look. That's for the final transfer spot between Moore and Mills. Mills got to take the longer way around here on the left-hander, then has the shorter way on the right-hander. Might have the advantage here as far as the cornerings are concerned on Quentin Moore to move into that 5th position right here. Not quite going to be able to do it. Moore going to battle back. Now they got the uphill right-hander. And will Mills clear for the spot this time? Hard to see through the trees, but yes, he will. Jose Mills will move into the final transfer spot right there with the pass on Quentin Moore. So I did a little bit of digging during our race break right there to see out of this group who the highest driver is in points, to see if anybody in this particular group would be in the conversation of a owner points transfer. And it looks like the answer to that is no. The highest driver that has not already locked themselves in this group would actually be Quentin Moore, and he is 21st in overall points. There are a plethora of drivers in that first group that are way higher in the point standings that would transfer in. So as of right now, if Quentin Moore doesn't race his way into the event, I don't think he would get in via an owner's points provisional. So as things stand right now, if we looked at the 5 drivers that would transfer in on owner points, it looks like they would be Casey Hoyt, James Qualls, Austin LaPlante, Destin Bolin, and Caleb Fogler, which would be very good news for anybody looking to get in via owner points and not having to have a past champion rely on a championship provisional, because Caleb Fogler, a past champion, would not need it. We've already mentioned about Kyle Matthews and Carson Gum already locking themselves into the field. And Charles Sanford right now is in a transfer spot in the 4th position. So with all that being said, I believe the next highest driver that did not transfer in would, I believe, be Michael Norman, 19th in overall points. I'd have to double check on that, but I believe that is the case. I believe everybody else between him and Fogler are already either locked in or running in a transfer position. So Banks is locked in. Goss transferred in that last heat race. So did Batson, Fogelman. Carson Gum locked himself in the first round of qualifying. Dollerton transferred in the first heat race. Actually, no, it would be Michael Norman. I was going to say Jose Mills might take the spot, but Mills is right now in a transfer position in 5th. So if he transfers in, yeah, it would be Michael Norman, 19th in overall points, that would get the final transfer spot in. He has to hope that Charles Sanford does not fall out of the top 5. But Nick Gunther, we've talked about the season he's had, 4-time winner last year. It has just been a struggle for this 55 team here in their second full-time season with the Mazdas. Anthony McCurry has been doing okay. He's had a good finish here, a good finish there, though it looks like he's going to fail to qualify for the show this week. You think about Gunther last year, 4 trips to victory lane, won the regular season championship as well. This year, he has just not had the numbers. 19 starts, only 1 top 10. No top 5s. That just does not seem like Nick Gunther numbers at all, based off of not only even last year, but you think about the year prior, when it was himself, Anthony McCurry, and Mike Tellier that drove the 55 for Gunther Motorsports. Gunther went to victory lane in that car. Mike Tellier did as well. That team did very well in the point standings. That team made it into the playoffs as well. They didn't advance into the Final Four, but they were definitely in the playoffs. This has been a down year for Nick Gunther as a driver. Still got a chance to finish out the season well, but I don't know if he's going to have a shot of getting into the playoffs. Even if he goes on a tear here with wins, I don't know. If I can do the quick math in my head, looks like he's about 50 points. No, 40 points below 30th in the standings. I mean, if he makes the show tomorrow and wins the race, there's a bunch of drivers that are ahead of him in points that are in line of not making it. Matthew Rodriguez, Benjamin Miles, Daniel Voiles, RJ Bishop, all look like they're going to fail to qualify tomorrow. So, that's a big chunk of points he can make up if he's able to win or even get a top 5 tomorrow afternoon. You have to wait and see. It's been a season of never say never. But right now, Nick Gunther, Zachary Fitzwater, Matt McIntyre, Charles Sanford and Jose Mills are in the transfer positions here to try and make the main event tomorrow afternoon. We're going to take another quick NNSCRA TV race break and then be back here to the action as we're nearing halfway in the second heat of the afternoon here for qualifying for Suzuka.